my loyal squire. Today we open a chronicle not written by heroes alone, but by children standing at the edge of war. It is a tale of loyalty tested, of bloodlines revealed, and of fate stirring long before its name is spoken. Listen carefully, for what begins as training will soon demand sacrifice. Let us begin.
The House of Anime recap.
On an otherwise unremarkable morning, one that history itself might have overlooked, the young samurai trooper known as Musashi began his day in a most peculiar fashion. He consulted his horoscope. The cryptic script declared that his lucky item for the day was a chocolate-covered banana. Musashi studied the prediction in silence, brow creased with genuine concern. He could not fathom how such a trivial indulgence might sway the brutal arithmetic of battle. War, after all, had never bent itself to sweets or superstition. Yet fate, as it often does, offered no explanation. Before Musashi could dwell further, the sharp voices of his fellow troopers rang out, urging haste. Training had ended, discipline waited for no one. He turned to respond, and in that instant a shrill alarm pierced the air. An emergency transmission from DST. A dangerous presence had been detected from the city's darkest corners. Demons erupted without warning. They poured forth like a broken tide, spilling into the streets with savage intent. Panic spread faster than flame. Civilians fled as fear seized the city's heart. At headquarters, the commander stiffened the ancient seal. The arcane boundary that had for generations kept the demon world apart from the realm of humanity was weakening, not cracking, not trembling, failing. A calamity long believed, sealed in history, threatened to return. And at that very moment, within the streets themselves, a demon lord advanced at the head of his forces. He walked as though the invasion were nothing more than a procession, singing a cheerful pop song, his voice echoing mockery as citizens scattered in terror. To him, the end of the world was entertainment. Special Agent Kaito arrived too late. His grandmother lay motionless upon the ground, claimed by the chaos. He fell to his knees, grief overtaking him as the truth settled in. The demon lord passed by. Kaito demanded an answer. Asked whether the monster before him bore responsibility. The demon lord did not reply. He had greater matters to attend to. The demon lord charged. The samurai troopers arrived at last, their presence rekindling hope among the desperate onlookers. For a fleeting moment it seemed salvation had come. That hope was swiftly shattered. The demon lord struck them aside with terrifying ease, his power overwhelming, merciless. Then Ryu stepped forward. The battle-hardened trainer moved with practiced resolve. He seized Musashi's armor gear and cast a smokescreen, cloaking the battlefield in chaos. Without hesitation, Ryu launched himself at the demon lord. Their clash thundered through the streets. Steel against sorcery, will against annihilation. Yet even Ryu began to falter, and then fate intervened. A shot rang out. A bullet, fired by another demon, pierced the demon lord's chest. In that instant, the impossible occurred. The demon lord collapsed, his form unraveling, his power stripped away. He struck the ground not as a monster, but as a human. When the smoke cleared, Ryu was gone. The transformed demon lord was taken into custody without resistance. Kaito watched in silence as they were driven away, grief still heavy upon his heart. Back at headquarters, Commander Yagyu studied the unfolding signs with grave concern. The pattern was unmistakable. This was the same kind of demon outbreak that had occurred 35 years earlier. Only now, the scale was far greater. Most of Japan stood at risk. Communication with the public was restricted. There would be no reassurance, no explanations, only action. Commander Yagyu proposed deploying the samurai troopers once more. The director objected. They were too young. Yagyu did not yield. Research had been clear. 15 years of age was the ideal threshold for samurai troopers. At that age, body and spirit bonded most deeply with the armor gear, producing warriors of unparalleled harmony and strength. It was not chance, it was design. At last, the director relented. The demons had returned, and once again, the burden of resistance would fall upon the young, upon Musashi, upon the samurai troopers, and thus, with an omen spoken lightly in the morning and fate moving swiftly by nightfall, the war began anew. Later, beneath the dim and echoing lights of the training hall, Ryu found Musashi alone. The boy stood motionless, a solitary figure surrounded by shadows, his thoughts clearly heavier than the steel he trained to wield. Ryu approached and attempted to speak, but the words he met were sharp with bitterness. "We are not heroes," Musashi said at last. His voice was steady, yet burdened. Only figures placed on posters, chosen for how we look, not for what we are. He turned slightly, anger and doubt mingling in his tone. "The government should have chosen Yama instead. He has the heart of a warrior. He always did. But no, he was cast aside for bad behavior." Ryu listened without interruption. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm, measured. "The government," he said quietly, "prefers those it can control." Then he placed a hand upon Musashi's shoulder, firm, grounding. "But you," Ryu added, "you have potential." Nothing more was said. Ryu turned and walked away, leaving Musashi alone with that single, unsettling truth. Musashi called out after him, one last question rising from the silence. What happened to the demon they captured? Ryu did not turn back. "They are dissecting him," he replied. Within the sterile confines of the laboratory, Commander Yagyu and scientist Mirai examined the demon, now confined within a human body. Their findings were deeply troubling. The creature had not been born a demon. It had been transformed, reshaped by dark sorcery, and the bullet that struck it had reversed the spell. As Commander Yagyu closed her fingers around the necklace at her throat, it began to glow. A fierce, resonant red. She did not need explanation. This magic was ancient and dangerous. Far from the human world, in the depths of the demon realm, 10 elite warriors gathered in grim assembly. 2 absences weighed heavily upon the chamber. Prince Guy, heir to the throne, was missing, and so was Saizo, one of their own, believed to have gone in search of the prince. Then, the air itself seemed to bow. Emperor Ramaga appeared. His voice rolled through the chamber like distant thunder. Prince Guy, he declared, would not escape him. Ryu was summoned once more. Commander Yagyu explained the meaning behind the jewel's glow. It confirmed the demon's humanity. In that instant, the truth struck Ryu with chilling clarity. Prince Guy was not merely an enemy. He was among the samurai troopers, the very warriors trained to oppose the demon world, now walked beside its prince. At that precise moment, the troopers arrived. They demanded their armor gear. Ryu refused. One of the boys mocked him openly. Tension sparked. Musashi stepped forward, defending his trainer, and in doing so, drew the ire of the others. The fracture widened. Scientist Mirai's voice cut sharply through the rising discord. A message had arrived. Guy had awakened. He was found doing the unthinkable, eating Ryu's Mr. Yakisoba noodles, entirely at ease. Ryu erupted in fury and attacked at once. Then he noticed the CD lying nearby. Demon Ultimate Song Collection, Japanese pop songs from the 1980s. A quiet revelation. The demon world, it seemed, had not truly changed since its defeat decades earlier. Guy seized the CD without explanation. Commander Yagyu asked his name, having seen it written upon his bag. Guy ignored the question. Instead, he demanded to know whether she had turned him human. She answered plainly. The bullet had been fired by one of his own. When scientist Myre suggested betrayal among his allies, Guy's anger ignited like wildfire. Alarms screamed. Their piercing wail echoed through the fortress as reports flooded in. Demons had breached the base. Ryu seized Commander Yagyu, his voice sharp with unrestrained urgency, demanding the truth. Elsewhere, Musashi and the troopers rushed into the corridors. Armor clinked, hearts raced, but the halls were empty. No demons, no civilians. Then Musashi stopped. His gaze fell upon a sight that froze his blood. 2 children, trapped beneath the crushing weight of a massive boulder. Without hesitation, Musashi ran forward. He braced himself, straining with every ounce of strength his young body could muster. The others shouted at him to retreat, to abandon the impossible. Musashi did not listen. Another trooper fired upon the stone, and in a tragic instant the boulder shifted, then fell, pinning Musashi and the children beneath its merciless weight. Through the chaos, the children spoke. Their voices were small, trembling, yet resolute. They told Musashi that they were unharmed, that they were not afraid. Musashi listened, and answered not with reassurance, but with memory. He spoke of an elder brother, long lost to time. A boy who had once knelt before him and sworn an unbreakable vow. "I will protect you." The words lingered in the air, heavy with promise and regret, an oath made in youth, echoing now beneath crushing stone. Then, as though summoned by fate itself, Guy appeared. The prince-turned-enemy descended upon the troopers with ruthless precision. There was no hesitation, no mercy. Hands were severed, armor gear torn away. Resistance collapsed beneath his overwhelming skill, and yet, when he reached Musashi, there was no malice in his gaze, only calm. Guy lifted the boy from beneath the rubble with ease. Then, with a gesture almost playful in its cruelty, he took Musashi's chocolate banana noodles, his so-called lucky item. The prophecy, strange, absurd, and dismissible at dawn, had spoken, and it had spoken early. Then came the realization, sharp, unforgiving. Ryu had not come for Musashi. Ryu had come for the noodles, and Ryu had slain the others. The tale now turns back upon itself, to the morning before alarm screamed, before demons walked the streets, before truth revealed its jagged edges. Special Agent Kaito's phone rang. His grandmother's voice answered, calm, composed, almost distant. "I am in the city," she said. Then the line went dead. A chill passed through him, not fear alone, but certainty. Something was wrong. He ran. When he arrived, she lay motionless upon the floor. Life had already departed. The world felt suddenly hollow. At that same moment, Prince Guy ignored Kaito's frantic questions. He passed by without pause, leaving devastation in his wake. And yet, even in death, the grandmother spoke. She revealed a truth long hidden. Kaito had once been chosen to become a samurai trooper. The mark had been upon him, his potential unmistakable. She had intervened, not because he was weak, but because she knew the cost. The path of a trooper led only to loss. Even the gentlest hands, she warned, cannot hold back fate forever. In the present, Kaito watched the DST headquarters from a distance. His eyes traced the structure with quiet intensity. He believed the one responsible for his grandmother's death was inside. Within the fortress, Ryu confronted Prince Guy once more. The prince moved with terrifying speed, violent, precise, utterly focused. Yet Ryu did not panic. He circled with measured control, timing each step with care. An anti-magic bullet rang out. For a brief, precious moment, Guy's power flickered, but his assault did not cease. Then, Ryu vanished. In a single, flawless motion, he struck. Prince Guy collapsed. The clash ended. Ryu fell soon after, exhaustion claiming him as the immense energy of battle drained his body. Later, Prince Guy awoke within a punishment cell. Electric currents arced through the chamber, filling the air with harsh, relentless sound. Scientist Mireille stood before him, eyes cold, voice sharpened by discipline. She questioned Musashi. Had the other troopers tried to kill him? Musashi answered without hesitation, yes, they had. Ryu stirred awake and began to speak recklessly, anger guiding his tongue. Mireille ended it with a single command. Electricity silenced him. She explained where they were. The base was no ordinary stronghold. It was a moving fortress. A train hidden by powerful magic, cloaked from the human world itself. Elsewhere, Commander Yagyu faced the director. Her report was grim. Over 100,000 lives had already been lost. The director spoke of politics, of image, of control. Yagyu's voice rose above him, firm, unwavering. The discussion ended. She turned and left. The punishment chamber awaited. There, within the quiet confines of the chamber, Commander Yagyu found Ryu fully awake. His gaze was steady, unflinching. She wasted no time. "Why?" she demanded, her voice firm and unyielding. "Were you attempting to steal the weapons of the samurai troopers?" Ryu did not avert his eyes. His answer carried no bravado, no defiance, only solemn resolve. Not for praise, not for power. He sought the armor gear for a single purpose: to kill his father, Demon General Ramaga, Emperor of the Demon World. The words settled heavily in the air, their weight undeniable. Far from the human realm, within the vast and shadowed halls of the demon world, Emperor Ramaga summoned the 10 warriors. His presence alone silenced the chamber. His voice rolled forth like distant thunder as he declared that his son had crossed into the human world. Seizing samurai weapons in preparation for a confrontation long foretold, the Emperor's anger was not wild. It was measured, and thus far more dangerous. He issued his command. Demon Lord Nezu was to retrieve Prince Guy, dead or alive. Nezu accepted without hesitation. As he departed, one of the 10 warriors questioned him, why he had acted as he did. Nezu's answer was simple. He obeyed the Emperor's will. Back at DST, agents gathered around a recording recovered from Prince Guy's possessions. The tape began to play. What it revealed was chilling. Lessons, classes, history. The inner workings of demon society unfolded before them. A civilization built upon domination and control. They saw how the 10 demon lords waged war not with armies alone, but with puppets. Humans captured, souls twisted, bodies reshaped into tools of destruction. Slowly the truth emerged. This was not chaos, it was design. Cruel, meticulous, enduring. When the recording ended, silence filled the room. Then Prince Guy spoke. His voice was calm, yet edged with iron determination. He revealed his father's design. When he turned 15, the Emperor intended to use him as a vessel. His current body could not contain the power Ramaga sought to unleash. A younger form, however, was easier to mold, easier to control, easier to break. Musashi's eyes widened. They were the same age. Ryu demanded an explanation. Commander Yagyu answered plainly. 15 was the optimal age for samurai troopers, and the perfect age to create a demon vessel. Fate, it seemed, had aligned both sides for the same purpose, a convergence no one could ignore. Prince Guy's resolve hardened. He would kill his father, whatever the cost. Commander Yagyu offered her assistance. He refused. Only when she spoke the truth did his resolve deepen further. The demon emperor could not be defeated alone. Victory would require the united strength of the samurai troopers, yet the balance had already been broken. The last recruits were dead. Ryu stepped forward. His voice was steady, commanding. A new league of samurai troopers must be formed, a fresh force, untainted, unbroken. He offered his own strength without hesitation, ignoring the commander's concerns. Then he spoke another name, Special Agent Kaito, marked from birth, bearing the blood, possessing the spirit required for the coming war. Soon after, Ryu and Prince Guy arrived at Kaito's location. Ryu studied the weapon gear at Kaito's side, his gaze lingering. "Its quality speaks," he said quietly. "It is why you advanced so far in trooper selection." Kaito's eyes narrowed. "Did you come to take it?" he asked. "No," Ryu replied. "I came to ask you to join a new league of troopers." Kaito refused. Standing beside Ryu was the very demon lord responsible for his grandmother's death, a silent reminder of the price already paid. Ryu suggested they destroy the demons first and settle their personal reckoning afterward. Before Kaito could answer, Prince Guy spoke. The demon troops, he warned, were not true warriors. They were puppets, controlled by a demon lord's unseen hand. Kaito's certainty wavered. He did not yet understand how such puppets were made, yet he charged forward. Careful to avoid killing them, Prince Guy offered his aid. If only Kaito would stand with them. Kaito refused again, and in that moment, Guy understood. Kaito feared the truth, that his grandmother might have been transformed into one of the puppets. Ryu spoke at last. His voice was firm, unyielding. If the puppets were not destroyed, the attacks would never end, and the war would consume everything. Faced with a choice no heart should ever bear, Kaito's resolve faltered. The air darkened. From the shadows emerged Nezu, dark magic seeping from his eyes like living smoke. With a single deliberate gesture, he summoned a puppet. It stepped forward, and Kaito's breath caught in his throat. It was his grandmother. Recognition struck him motionless. The world seemed to still. Ryu surged forward in desperation, only to be frozen in place, paralyzed by sorcery. Prince Guy shouted a warning. Too late. The puppet advanced. Weapon raised. The gentle warmth once found in her eyes had been replaced by the cold dominion of dark magic. Kaito's heart clenched. Then a sound cut through the moment. A child cried nearby, small, unprotected, unarmored. In that instant, clarity pierced the storm within him. He understood what must be done. With a heart weighed by grief, Kaito struck. The blow released her soul. As she faded, her voice reached him, soft, proud, unwavering. She told him to move forward, and so he did. Purpose hardened within him like tempered steel. With renewed resolve, Kaito destroyed the remaining puppets, each strike carrying both mercy and finality. Prince Guy turned toward Nezu. Without hesitation, he activated his weapon gear. Ryu and the others watched in stunned disbelief. Scientist Mireille spoke at once. She had taught Guy only the most basic activation techniques, yet it was clear now. He had already mastered far more. Prince Guy attacked with relentless force. Nezu retaliated, hurling him back with demonic might. But Ryu fired. The anti-magic bullet struck true. Nezu faltered, and in that opening, Guy delivered the decisive blow. The demon lord fell. His form unraveled, reverting to that of a human. With his final breath, Nezu spoke a grim warning. The Emperor's true design remained unfinished. Then his soul surged forward into Guy's chest, a dark inheritance, accepted without consent. Back aboard the moving fortress, the great train began to slow. Standing before it, unmoving, defiant, was Yama, Musashi's childhood friend. Anger burned openly across his face. Episode 3. Yama spoke of the fire that drove him. He had seen innocent lives torn apart by demons. He had watched blood soak the streets while salvation arrived too late. He could not understand why the samurai troopers had not stopped it sooner. Frustration hardened into resolve. Resolve became action. And so he forced his way into headquarters, determined to become a samurai trooper himself. When Ryu arrived, he spoke first of Kaito, of his strength, his spirit, his worth. He convinced the commander and the others that Kaito was an exceptional candidate. Then Yama stepped forward, and Ryu refused him, plainly. Whenever Yama was present, Ryu explained, chaos followed, tempers rose, stability fractured. Yama proved the claim instantly, his composure shattering in a flare of outrage. Commander Yagyu offered compromise. Yama would train alongside the others. If he proved himself worthy, a place could be earned. Yama's gratitude exploded forth, loud, fervent, unrestrained. Scientist Mireille recoiled, storming out to scold him for the noise. Unfazed, Yama declared his undying admiration. Mireille responded with a kick. Kaito watched in silence, quietly questioning whether anyone around him was sane. In the demon world, the 10 warriors mourned Nezu's fall. In the human world, Kaito approached Prince Guy during his meal. "The commander wishes to see you," he said coldly. Then, without warmth, he added, "Do not mistake giving me the will to fight for forgiveness. My grandmother's life is not so easily repaid." At the commander's quarters, Ryu revealed the plan. A full month of intensive training awaited them before they could truly claim the title of samurai trooper. Musashi's concerns surfaced at once. Would Japan be left defenseless? Scientist Mireille answered calmly. "A virtual reality training system." Within the simulation, a full day passed in the span of 1 hour outside, 30 hours in reality, a month within. The nation would remain guarded, and the true trial was about to begin. With solemn intent, the group activated the system. The world around them shifted. When their senses settled, they found themselves standing within a virtual classroom, its boundaries framed by thick, whispering bushes that rustled as though alive, watching, listening. Prince Guy bounded forward at once, his excitement unchecked, his curiosity overflowing. His enthusiasm, however, did little to endear him to the others. Musashi observed quietly, then spoke with thoughtful restraint. Guy, he noted, had learned of the human world only through books and records, never through lived experience. Reality itself was foreign to him. In that sense, Musashi reflected, Guy was no different from a demon gazing upon humanity for the first time. Tension rose when Guy, careless in speech, referred to Yama as nothing more than a backup plan. Kaito responded sharply, sneering and calling him a muscle-headed gorilla. The fragile calm fractured. Ryu appeared before the clash could escalate. His presence alone silenced the room. He reminded them of a truth easily forgotten. Guy had never been taught right from wrong. He had been raised among demons. While his actions could not be forgiven, Ryu said, judgment alone would serve no one. They were to grant him the chance to change. If he failed, the consequences would be his alone to bear. The first lesson began. Ryu explained the nature of samurai troopers' weapon gear, a sacred bond between body, spirit, and armor. Man and power united. Yet as the explanation turned technical, exhaustion claimed the boys. One by one, their focus waned, until all had drifted into sleep. Ryu sighed. The lesson moved outdoors. Physical training commenced. One after another, the troopers activated their armor with practiced ease, all except Yama. Confusion clouded his expression. Why would the armor not answer him? Ryu's gaze hardened. Weapon gear, he explained, demanded more than strength or technique. It required unshakable will. Yama's resolve, though fierce, was unstable, fractured by anger and doubt. The others attempted special attacks. They failed. Even Guy, who had wielded such power against Nezu, was reminded that his success had come not from mastery, but from extreme circumstance. Courage born of desperation. Days passed. Training was relentless. Yama still could not awaken his armor. Guy's careless remarks, though never meant with cruelty, pushed the others harder, sharpening their resolve. Eventually, they took turns facing Guy in combat practice. Each clash refined their instincts. Each strike carved discipline into muscle and spirit alike. Back at headquarters, Commander Yagyu and scientist Mirei reviewed footage from the previous demon attack. Then the alarm screamed once more. Demons had breached the human world again. Ryu watched Yama carefully, concern etched into his features. Musashi stepped forward. He spoke of the past, of a day long ago when he and Yama, still children, had been saved by a samurai trooper. That moment, Musashi said, had ignited Yama's dream of heroism. When Musashi was orphaned, Yama had taken him in, protected him. Yet Yama's father, violent, unrelenting, had turned their home into a prison. They had fled together, running through dark forests with nothing but fear and resolve. In those woods, Yama had sung to him. Songs woven from hope, meant to drown out despair. Once more, a samurai trooper had found them, fed them, shielded them, and the dream had taken root again. Musashi's faith in Yama never wavered. He believed, with every fiber of his being, that Yama would rise. Guy, however, remained unconvinced. His gaze held doubt, shaped by a life that had taught him the cost of misplaced trust. The DST alarms blared, dragging them back to reality. The National Stadium was under siege. Commander Yagyu's voice echoed through the comms, urgent, regretful. "I'm sorry to call you back so soon," she said, "but the puppets are emitting far stronger dark energy. We cannot delay." The troopers arrived amid chaos. Locker room doors shuddered beneath relentless blows. The puppets were breaking through. Yama still could not transform. Ryu suggested leaving him behind. Kaito refused. "We test what we've learned," he said firmly. Together, he stayed close to Yama, not as a commander, but as a shield. And so, with resolve untested and fate pressing close, they stepped forward as one. Steel met shadow. The samurai troopers struck the puppets with disciplined precision, yet victory betrayed them. The fallen forms convulsed, then merged. What rose from the wreckage was no mere enemy, but a towering abomination, a single massive terror that roared with a voice not its own. The troopers were scattered like leaves before a storm. Prince Guy reacted first. "We must activate our special weapon gear," he urged. Musashi's reply was sharp, edged with truth. "You've never succeeded before." Frustration flared in Guy's eyes. Then, defiance. Together, they forced their weapons to life. Their combined assault shattered the monster in a blinding clash of power. Yet, triumph lasted only a heartbeat. The remains twisted, reformed, evolved. A greater horror emerged. Guy stiffened. This, he breathed, recognition tightening his voice, could only belong to Saizo. And then he appeared. Saizo stood before them, unmoved, imposing, inevitable. "The Emperor will find a new host," he said calmly. After this land is conquered, his gaze fixed on Guy. Return home. The samurai troopers stand no chance. But Guy did not retreat. Instead, he turned. His eyes passed over Yama, over Musashi, over the others. Then he attacked. My father has forgiven me, Guy declared coldly. I will no longer live as a pawn. Musashi fought with everything he had, but Guy's fury was merciless. Ryu leapt forward. Only for Saizo to stop him. Nezu's death burned in the warrior's eyes, and then something broke. Yama watched his brother fall, watched Musashi suffer, and something within him finally shattered. Kaito understood in that instant. This was the moment. Yama's weapon gear ignited, power surged. Fire answered his will. He charged, unstoppable. Guy laughed. Good, he taunted. Now help me destroy the puppet. But Yama froze and realized the truth. He had been manipulated, pushed, used, still. The battle raged. United at last, the samurai troopers unleashed everything they had learned. The puppet was torn apart. Ryu faced Saizo head-on and struck him down. Silence followed. Yama confronted Guy, rage trembling in his voice. But Ryu stepped between them. He pushed you, Ryu said calmly, to awaken your resolve. Then a figure approached, Saizo's partner. You've wasted your only chance at redemption, he said. Guy's jaw tightened. I always knew, he admitted quietly, that my father would never accept me. The warrior raised his hands, removed his helmet, and the world seemed to stop. Recognition struck like lightning. Shion Ishida, once a samurai, now a demon lord. His eyes were cold, his presence final. Your failure ends here, he said softly. Then, with a voice that carried the weight of fate itself, I will destroy you all. And thus, the first chapter comes to an end. The boys who stood as students must now rise as warriors, for fate does not wait, and neither does war. Return, my loyal squire, when next the chronicle is opened, for the storm has only just begun.